All right.
Jared, how are you?
Life is good. How about yourself?
Life is good too.
All right. So, one of the reasons I'm sure life is good on your side is because the trade desk seems to be hitting on all cylinders these days in terms of the marketing. On a daily basis, I'm getting stuff from the Current.
Great.
I've seen you guys, take on Google in a very public and bold way.
Okay.
Seeing you guys up-level your marketing in a way beyond just programmatic and talking about the open internet and kind of transcending advertising. So excited to dig into all of that. But first, I'd like to dig into your personal story a little bit. Can you tell us about your journey to the role of CMO?
Sure. So I've been with the Trade Desk just under 6 years. And prior to that, I was at IBM for 20 plus years. And prior to that, I worked in PR for financial services companies. But I think in the last 10 years, and especially in B2B marketing, what's been super interesting to see is the evolution of the importance of the storytelling component for a brand. And settling on what the compelling and engaging narrative is that can tell the story of your product or your service or your mission. And as that kind of focus has become more elevated, again, especially for B2B tech brands like ours, the muscles that you build as a communicator, so I grew up on the communication side of marketing, the muscles that you build there, I think, come into more focus than ever. So in articulating that narrative and then figuring out how to articulate that narrative across a range of different channels, it really leans into skills that you can hone on the communication side. So I do think that over the last 10 years, that shift certainly enabled me to expand beyond communications into the marketing realm. And certainly at the Trade Desk, we think about how we tell the story of the company, the product, the mission, what we believe in, super seriously, and it's something our CEO, Jeff Green, believes in very deeply too, that how we tell the story of the company is one of the most important things that we do in not just marketing, but in helping the company grow overall.
That's really evident. It comes through as a consumer, if you will, of your marketing. And so let's dig in there a little bit more. Can you tell us about that evolution I alluded to from, back in the day, we would think of you, the Trade Desk, as that company worked with agencies. Then we thought of you as the leader of programmatic. And now, again, it feels like in many ways you kind of transcended, up-leveled your communication to talk about the open marketplace, et cetera, right? So tell us a little bit about that storytelling evolution. And then also for the marketers here, if you could tell them when a company like theirs has marketplace permission to kind of up-level that storytelling as well.
I think we've always believed that from a principle perspective, that the digitization of advertising is going to help drive a whole new frontier in terms of what marketers are capable of doing. And when you base your business on a belief that technology can help things get a lot better, it can help make the market more transparent, it can help with data symmetry, it can help marketers think beyond kind of an addiction to cheap reach and where they can find value across the whole of the premium open internet. When your business is predicated on that, it enables you to elevate the story when you need to. So when we sign a deal with like Roku, as we did a few weeks ago, as we signed a deal with Spotify last week, we can talk about what that means for marketers in accessing the very best of streaming TV, which is where now consumers have shifted their attention, or to streaming audio with Spotify, where consumers are spending up to 3 hours a day in the US on average with streaming audio, which is a massive shift in terms of where consumers spend time since the pandemic. We can tell those stories at a super high level, but then we can also live in the ad tech world that we exist in and talk about the importance of core partnerships there in addressing things like cookie deprecation and the future of identity and the evolving world of omni-channel versus multi-channel. So you can tell a story that applies to people who are deep in the programmatic world, day-to-day traders, if you like, but also to brand marketers too, who are thinking about how they capture consumer attention in an incredibly fragmented environment that's only getting more fragmented as more digital channels come online.
So it sounds like it's a kind of natural progression. You're telling the story that the product is leading, and you just happen to be working with a fantastic and evolving product as well.
Yeah, and we're fortunate that we do get to work with amazing partners like Roku and Disney and Netflix and Spotify, and also work with the biggest brands in the world as well to bring that alchemy together. So it's a great place to be.
I love it. I love it. Well, I alluded earlier to you're kind of taking on a very public stance, Google. It's something that I notice, again, as a consumer. Tell us a little bit about if there was an internal conversation or thought process, right? Because you're taking on a behemoth in a very bold and public way. What was that internal conversation like, if there was one?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily as explicit as Trade Desk versus Google. I think we've always believed that there is value for advertisers on the open internet. And today, over the last 10 years or so, where consumers spend the bulk of their time has shifted considerably, largely driven by the growth of streaming TV and the emergence of digital audio, where they now spend about 2/3 of their time on the premium open internet. This is the streaming TV destinations we love, the best of trusted journalism, things like that, versus within walled gardens on social media and things like that. But the ad spend hasn't caught up with that, and you can then look at the dynamics of why that is. And then you also have something like the DOJ antitrust lawsuit, which shines a very clear light on how companies like Google or allegedly, control certain aspects of the market. So all we're trying to do really is shine a light on an alternative. That there is now scale in terms of inventory for brand advertisers on the open internet, where they can understand exactly where their dollars are going, who they're trying to reach, whether they're reaching them or not, at what cost, at what value. And there's a range of new measurement alternatives there as well, including retail media, which is enabling companies to understand the impact of their campaign dollars on actual consumer purchases in the store or online for the first time. So that holy grail of attribution for companies that sell to consumers. So just presenting that alternative, we think, is super important, because it is now at a scale with a level of efficacy that we believe it is a compelling alternative to, again, the kind of the cheap reach dynamics of that typically characterize walled gardens.
Well, to your point, the marketplace and the eyeballs are moving outside of the garden, so the investment should reflect that.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're seeing more and more of that too. So we're as you said up front, our company has been growing considerably, and in large part that's in partnership with our clients. Where we work for the biggest brands in the world, and they are looking for alternatives too. And it's at times like this where there is a focus on properties like Google, for a variety of reasons, that they might be interested in learning more about programmatic. And we see it in our clients that it's no longer just the trading team off in a corner, which is the way it was 5 or 6 years ago. Now it's a CMO level discussion. What is this? What is it? How does this work? Or what is the value of it? How do I get the most out of this part of the marketing mix?
One place I think you guys are doing a wonderful job telling that CMO narrative is through the Current. Can you tell us a little bit about the strategy there? If you guys haven't engaged with the Current at all, there's a wonderful podcast, there's a newsletter. I'll let you talk about it. Tell us about the evolution there.
Yeah, so go to thecurrent.com and you can subscribe. But this is something we stood up, I think about 3 years ago. There is, in our world of ad tech, I don't know how many of you exist in the world of ad tech, but in our world of ad tech, there's a trade media environment that covers what we do. But we felt that there was room for a news property around ad tech that focused on where value is shifting in digital advertising, and particularly where value is shifting on the open internet. So we hired some reporters from the trade media world, and they've stood up. At first, it was a newsletter. Then it became a full-fledged news website, and now it has all kinds of video and podcast content as well. And as of right now, I think we have about 200,000 subscribers, which is now in some ways more than a lot of the trade media that cover our industry, and we only get to have that level of engagement if we're fairly or very authentic with the content. It can't be trade desk heavy or oriented, or it can't be marketing copy. No, right. It has to be kind of objective, news-oriented content. So if you're interested in ad tech and what's going on in ad tech, and if you're interested in where value is shifting in digital advertising, I encourage you to check it out.
Sign on up. You heard it here. All right, so a few rapid-fire questions, as I don't want to stand between you and the Kraft C-suite. So question number one, if you could grab a beer with any CMO, current or past, and you can't say Todd and Diana, who would it be?
I've actually always wanted to meet Andy Cunningham. And so she is former marketing head at Apple. She famously hired and fired by Steve Jobs 5 times. And if you watch those, so if you watch those movies that came out, those kind of bio movies about Steve Jobs that came out a few years ago, she's actually a character in those movies. But she actually joined our board of directors about a year and a half ago. So I've actually had the opportunity to spend quite a bit of time with her. Yeah, so anytime you get to spend time with someone like her who's an icon of marketing, when you think about what she worked on at Apple and other places with Steve Jobs, just having the opportunity to just tap into that is just an incredible opportunity.
Amazing. All right, a few more on our rapid fire tour here. What is one of the misconceptions people have about programmatic?
That it's expensive. I think there's, if you look at the critics of programmatic, they often focus on cost. They don't look at value, right? And I often compare it to when you get an accountant. You can go to H&R Block if you want and pay a certain amount, or you can pay a little bit more to go to a higher value accountant, but the value you get from doing that is significantly higher than going to a generic low cost. It's worth the margin. And that's exactly what we see with our platform. And we clients that are using the trade desk, we expect that we deliver more value than we extract at all times, and we present that back to the client. And so, in terms for what you're paying to operate this way, we will show you how your marketing performance is greater than the cost of it. So. I think there's more that the industry has to do to kind of get over that hump of understanding value versus cost, but it's something we focus on a great deal.
Yeah, whenever you can set up a win-win, you know you've got something scalable. All right, last question for you. What is one thing you're looking forward to in 2025 from an industry perspective, and one thing you think is a little overrated?
For me, it's the same answer for both of those, and it's AI. I think AI has certain applications in what we do. So we, for example, see 15 million ad impressions every second that we have to help our clients figure out which ones to buy. And every one of those 15 million has dozens or hundreds of variables associated with it. So a human cannot make sense of this. So there are tons of kind of algorithms that we develop in our platform that are machine learning oriented that help them do that, and we're constantly optimizing those based on learning and performance. We may talk about it in the next panel too, a little bit, just where else in marketing can AI be applied to? I think it's become such a buzzword that everybody thinks it's the answer to everything, but I'm not 100% sure that's correct, at least not yet.
All right, well, I'll let you dig into it with our friends from Kraft. So with that, if Todd and Diana want to come on up, we'll transition over to you moderating their session.
Fantastic.